Welcome to the Say I Do Chapel podcast. This is June.
And this is Diana, the minister.
The photographer extraordinaire. We are here back again during, I guess we just missed National Kissing Day. I don't know if you were aware of that.
There are way too many National something day.
That is true. I'm not
many.
sure why National Kissing Day is what it is, but I think it's because maybe there's two twos kind of kissing. So maybe that's why they did that. So anyway, National Kissing Day was last week, and we had a very busy week again.
Super busy.
So thank you to all of our beautiful couples. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We have been so busy. It has been great. It has been a blessing, and we have met so many great people this last week.
Great people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can finally talk about it today.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
That
one.
Okay, well, we got to wait on that one because that's
okay.
exciting. But I was going to just mention, it was so sweet. The last couple that just left from Romania and France.
Yep.
Oui. And that's all I've got. And, and au revoir. And and enchanté. They, it was really sweet. Their birthdays were kind of reversed. Their years were reversed.
Yep.
They were 3 months apart on their birth dates, right? And they thought that was like a really cool sign. Mm-hmm. She walks in. She's got this gorgeous flower that looks like our beautiful flowers here in the chapel.
Yep.
So that was another thing. And then he said, if that's not a sign and that's not a sign, he decides to pull out a photo of his late mama. And it was very sweet because she has a coif. She wore a coif just like I do. My coif is just for work, but this is my work coif. And, that's what they call it, a coif, this thing. Yeah, this thing.
Just hair
wrapped. It's a bun and a thing.
Whatever,
but it was very sweet. And he goes, even the eyebrows. And I'm like, yeah, your mom and I were probably very, very specific on these eyebrows. Sometimes I think they look a little funky, but it is what it is. They're a little expressive.
I call that a girl problem.
Yeah, it is a girl problem.
I don't have to worry about it.
Anyway, we do have some wine before us.
Yep.
And we're going to do another little blind tasting for the benefit of June, my W-set partner, who loves his wine. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some wine.
I'm not going to look at it,
not let him see, just in case he sees the back of it.
Yep.
He's going to have to figure out what it is, and I can't remember what it was. I am a heavy pourer.
Oh my God, you are.
Just saying.
Well, it's obvious that it's white wine.
Well, that is a really good guess there.
Another
all right,
white
we're
wine.
going to just... we did decant this one a little while ago, so that's pretty good.
Mmm.
And it does smell really amazing.
It smells amazing. Right away. Intensity is very high.
Quite chilled. What's the temperature again on white wine? Oh, well, he takes a sip. Let me ask again.
Sorry?
I'll let you. Temperature on white wine?
Between 45 to 55.
Thank you. Temperature on red wine?
55 to 65.
Thank you.
That's the general rule of thumb. Ooh, some reductive notes. Interesting. That means it's not ready.
Okay, that was nice because I was going to ask, what does that mean? Reductive notes.
It has that breathless character.
Mm-hmm. A little sharp?
No, not necessarily sharp. Well, you get the sharpness from the alcohol.
Yeah.
The breathless character I'm talking about is like, on the nose, you get that really nice fruity character, right?
Right, yes,
but
absolutely.
Once it's in your palate, it goes, and it just drops. It feels like that breathless, that's what we call it. It's like, that breathless character.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
It needs more oxygen.
That makes total sense.
So I'm going to hold off on the tasting.
It needs to sit, it does need to sit for a while. I can even tell.
Yeah.
And when I say sharp, it's a little...
You're very sensitive to the initial alcohol until it dies out.
That's true.
Yeah. And you're very sensitive
tangy.
to sulfur.
Yes, I am.
The sulfur dioxide they put in the wine.
Yes.
Before, you're very sensitive to that too.
I am telling you, if you want to learn about wine, I told him what he should be doing is he should be wine profiling people because he knows my wine profile. He knows my husband's wine profile, obviously his wife's wine profile. He's like on it. He really, really knows his wine. And this is pretty tasty though, even though it's a little, needs to sit and breathe a bit. It's still quite good.
I wish it was a tad cooler, but it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get into the wine in just a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple stories before.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of stories.
I have some fun. It just reminded me of like literally a couple hours ago. It was a.
June has a good story.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna start with some photography, my earlier career days.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
So when I started photography, it wasn't weddings. It was mostly portraits.
Okay.
So whether it's a pregnancy, engagement, shoot.
Okay.
I did do wedding and shoot, but just the portrait part. I didn't do ceremony, reception, none of that.
All right.
I only did the portrait part.
Okay.
So whether before their wedding, but often enough, obviously after the wedding, that's when I did more formal portraits. And then I think that came from my editorial background when I was doing more commercial work.
Okay.
And then that aside, we were out at Wetlands Park.
That's in Henderson, and right now I think there's
Yeah.
a little bit of a fire
There's
out
actually,
there. It's about the third fire.
It's like a recreational area, like a, what's the word, protected area?
Yes, of course.
So when there is a natural fire,
Yeah.
they let it happen until it becomes out of control, then they'll try to control it, but it's one of those places they let it happen, all that kind of stuff. So really neat. So every time I go there, I was like, whoa, one of my favorite photo spots is now just completely gone.
But if you do have a chance to go to our gallery, he does have a few shots in there that
all the way at the
are
bottom.
just talk about breathtaking.
Yeah. It's probably one of my favorite shot too.
Yeah, nice.
And then that's also I was very motivated at the time.
Sure.
Because I was having all kinds of different gears, right?
Yeah.
'Cause that's when I got my gear I wanted for like what, 8, 9, almost 10 years since
When
I
you're
started.
growing into your photography,
Yeah.
when you have today.
when you have your dream gear that you always thought about.
Yeah.
You just want to kind of do stuff with it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then now I can do that every day here. That's it. That's the thing. I actually read it on. I didn't read it. I watched it on one of the reel. There was one photographer. I think it was like an ad for like masterclass, something like that.
Okay.
He said photography is very personal, and if you can't connect to whoever your client is in that personal level, you just won't be able to create that shot.
Right.
And then I can't really put it better ways compared to what he put. Is like that's absolutely true. If you can't get to that personal level, you can't really create that photograph you want because you're gonna get the awkward poses. That's why you need to talk and have a conversation and break that awkwardness, right?
Sure.
And then, I mean,
which my husband says he's so good at,
Yeah.
because my husband's usually in the tail end sometimes of the photography end, and he's always like, he's just so good with the couples. I'm like, I know.
I wasn't great in the beginning.
Was it hard?
Yeah.
Hard for you?
Well, I was more introvert.
Whoa,
Yeah,
shocking!
I was very introvert. Yeah.
Huh.
Because I was like, hey, can you do this? Can you do like? I'm like, but it showed up in the photo quite obviously.
Okay.
I think I noticed around several years into my photography career when I noticed that difference is when I'm confident and when I can direct them confidently, when I can make leads and all that stuff, I noticed direct conversion into much more successful work.
Which is very similar
Yeah.
to when I was training all of the ministers when I worked at previous places, basically. The confidence is like the biggest thing that I had to teach. And sometimes some people have said, well, now that person is just way too confident. Is there any way of scaling? I'm like, there's no way of scaling that back.
No.
I mean, because you want to go into it loving what you do. And that's what when I'm training, that's one of my biggest things is I want you to walk away from here loving what you do and loving the people. I love the fact that when I worked with certain people, you're one of those people that you can always find the positive in a couple, in a person, in an individual. And I think that's so important. It's already changed a little bit, hasn't it? It's
Yeah.
so good. I already tasted it a minute ago.
smell
I
it.
didn't want to say it, but it was already changed some. But I love that. I love the confidence. And you're saying it takes a few years. Same with the ministers. You go through these peaks and valleys through your training and where you're at. You know, at 100 weddings, you're a little different than you might be at 1,000 than you are at 25,000 plus. But yeah, you do change with the time. But yeah, so tell me more. I love this.
So back to the pregnancy one.
Yeah. We're going to pregnancy.
Yeah, it was a pregnancy portrait. It was me and one of my, I don't like word assistant.
Okay, so
Second shooter.
Yeah, second shooter. Okay.
Second shooter, coworker, more like, at the time, friend.
Yeah, I like that.
We're all friends, you know. So there was like a little trickle of, it wasn't a river. It's like, what do you call that? It's like a,
Just a trickle of water coming
yeah,
down.
no,
like
it's like 2-3 feet wide, but you have like
Okay.
water flowing through.
Okay.
It's pretty. It's like a feet or two deep, right?
Okay.
So not something you want to you put your feet on and get all wet in the middle of a shoot, right?
Right.
So towards the end of it, great shoot. Whereas that and the end of it, we found that little thing, and then we're like, hey, why don't you stand there, both of you, and then because I was kind of doing the like that reflection shot.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, so of course, perfectly in the middle of the thing, there's like a little like a mud spot where you can stand on at least.
Okay.
So I can get that reflection shot from the water.
Nice.
And then there's two photographers on the backside. They're about here, right? And then I swear to God, it was a slow motion.
Uh-huh.
I guess the weight of it kind of, it was like on a branch or something.
Oh, I'm already watching it happen. Okay, tell
He
me.
fell sideways.
Oh, with the camera?
No. The
The
dad.
The dad?
Yeah, the dad. Oh. And then he can't hold on to her because she's pregnant, right? So he's on his own. There's nothing to grab around it.
So he went down.
He's falling slowly. And plop.
Right
his
into
entire
that.
side is covered in water. Oh. But then, that's one part. And then the lady goes, we have two photographers. None of you got that?
That's so funny.
We were all just watching in shock.
My
we didn't even
gosh.
thought about capturing it.
Well,
But yeah, obviously, so we just wrapped it. I was like, all right, let's go. So only person who lost here is obviously the dad. Who's in the
well,
water.
I bet you the photos were great, though.
Well, we don't have any photos of him in the water.
Right.
Him falling.
That's so
yeah,
funny.
the two photographers are just watching. I was like, oh, he's gonna fall, isn't he?
He's gone.
We're like, yeah, I think he's gonna fall. And we just watch him fall.
Those things do kind of happen, though, right?
Yeah.
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 I watch videos like that, and sometimes I'm just sitting there giggling, but at the same time I'm going, oh, I bet that hurt. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So
It's
what are you
chan-
thinking
it's-
here?
it's
It
changing
really is
every
changing
minute.
quickly. I'm not going to lie. That little sharpness that I was telling you about, completely gone.
The winemaking is very modern. It's very modern winemaking, but I can't get to New World. But I can't get to Burgundy on this either. I think it's some.
Hold, just keep going. Just. Speaking of winemaking, our last couple,
All right, go ahead.
he said once
While
a
I'm
year.
thinking, you
Once
can
a
go
year,
ahead.
he. So I'm giving him a little spice here. Once a year, he makes wine, and his wife's going to go ahead and videotape him making wine so that we could see the process with him. He's from Romania. They were so sweet, so nice. Okay, June's really.
I'm really thinking.
Yes, he is.
This is a winemaker. I haven't. There's that little touch of acidity at the end.
There certainly is.
There's that kick. That's very interesting. So it's a hot climate, hot to modern climate at least.
Okay. Are you able to pinpoint the year?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'll let you keep thinking. Keep drinking.
Perhaps
Keep thinking.
22 was pretty darn hot year for France. Well, anything after 2018 was hot year for France, really.
Yeah.
France hadn't had a cool year. Well, except 21.
Yeah.
That's why I love 21 vintage. Because 21 vintage, a lot of people say it's one of the weakest vintage of the modern days.
Okay.
In the past decade or two.
Right.
But to me, who prefers that classic old 60s, 70s style Burgundy, 21 is fantastic.
I like the 60s and 70s in music.
I mean, don't we all?
Just saying. So good.
Those are days without autotune.
The writing was so good.
Actual talent and pure skill.
Yeah, the
Nowadays,
writing was
it's
so
all
good.
autotune, and I'm not too. I mean, Jenna dies over K-pop stuff, BTS, and all that.
She does yes, she
And then
does.
I'm listening to her music. I'm like, I get the catch, but
No, and then you've got the girls who like the NSYNC. I think is it NSYNC or is it? It's one of these groups that's going to be here. I don't know. I don't know which one of the groups it is. I don't know their
There's
names.
a lot of groups.
No, there's two that were really popular back when that NSYNC one was in, but I don't know who they are. But they're going to be here. I don't remember the names. I feel terrible. I'm a little bit more of a rocker, but I do love the 60s. I love the 70s. I love my Motown. I love soul. I love jazz. Hard rock.
Lots of limestone.
Okay, he's getting some limestone in there.
It has that character I look for. Is that wet stone, wet gravel.
Yeah.
That's that soil. I
Okay.
get that. So quality of the wine is good.
I would agree with that.
I can't get the New World. I'm not getting the oak.
Okay.
Unlike a
I said
couple weeks
oak,
ago.
okay?
Yeah, I'm not getting any oak. There's a hair, like almost neutral oak.
Okay.
They probably use, but I'm not tasting like a new oak here. They probably used a neutral oak.
We'll see.
Some least contact. It's definitely France. This screams France, fruit-wise. But it's definitely modern winemaking. Definitely modern winemaking. So imagine grapes from France and winemakers from Napa. That's what I get.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's definitely French wine. The very high acidity is kind of interesting.
Throws you a little, huh?
I'm wondering, has this been acidified? Which is form of manipulation I'm not a fan of. But even if they did, it worked.
Okay.
There's
Fair
a thing.
enough.
I am against manipulation as a whole, but acidification is often used and it's not as it doesn't contribute negatively.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it can if you do it too much,
Right.
obviously.
Sure.
But it's not something like you're adding color. You're not right?
Manipulating it so much
Yeah,
that it's
I mean-
so off. Right. That makes sense.
I mean, this manipulation works. I think that's what's throwing me off. It's that manipulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing really well on the Let's Stump June wine trivia.
I can't pinpoint vintage because I'm not seeing vintage character. So I will say this is entry-level, regional, some French wine.
Shall we keep just going, or
No.
you done?
Yeah. About 2022, give or take.
All right.
Practically new.
What
Alcohol's
year?
pretty
What
low.
year?
Alcohol's pretty low, like
You have to give me the year.
13%. I think it's about 2022 or 3. Something new. But can it be 2020? No. Pretty new, 2022. It could be 1, but it's too hot to be 21. So I'm leaning 22.
All right.
Where are we at?
I'm trying to unveil here. What year?
22.
Okay.
Yeah. It's too hot to be 21. It's too...
He is correct. It is 22.
Okay, I got the vintage right. Please
That is
tell me I got
correct.
France right.
Wait. What is the other?
I can't pinpoint where, but it's France. I'm not...
Oui.
I can't, like...
Do you think I gave him a hint when I said that earlier? I don't know.
I can't pinpoint the region. It's pretty... It's regional,
It is regional.
so I can't tell, other than it's French Burgundy.
All right.
I'm not even sure if it's
See,
Burgundy.
it's a heart. I kind of tried to, and I really had to cover it. Saint Véron le Grand Bruyère, Domaine de la Croix, Saint-Henriette.
Let me see.
I get to get all this stuff off. Hang on, I'm not the best at this. Oh, I tried to make it fancy and cute. Hearts. Here we go. Sir?
It is Burgundy. Saint Véron.
Oui.
That's why I couldn't pinpoint, because Saint Véron, because Saint Véron is very large.
Domaine?
No. Saint Véron's name of the place. It's so when you say
Large region?
yeah, it's extremely large region.
Okay.
So it's like as if saying, you know how
Los Angeles?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Like instead of pinpointing to Napa,
Sure.
we're just saying, oh, this is California.
Got it.
Yeah, it's that kind of. It's
Okay.
a much bigger region.
Okay.
Getting to that close blind is actually I'm proud of myself. 13% alcohol, I got that right too.
Woo, look at him.
Domaine I do. So at this level of
Yes.
wine, I am tasting that. I'm pretty sure this has been acidified.
What is the bottle like this run, sir?
I am not sure, but
I'm not either, because it was just in my wine cellar.
oh, is this that $25 one? It could
Which
be.
would make it what retail?
25 import, you're looking at 40,
40?
if you can find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can tell it has our
It's really
sticker.
quite light. It's lovely. It has a crispness to it, which I think is nice.
So
the
this one-
colder, the better for me on
Yeah.
this one.
To me, it's the
Personally?
For me, as a blind tasting, it's the acidity that really took me off.
Yeah, take it, trash.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
It
you.
really took me off, as in, it gave me a hard time.
Yeah.
Because Burgundy, it's relatively medium plus on the acidity. This is like high, like, I mean, in the W set world, it ends at high.
I agree.
But if I were to give it, it's high plus.
Right.
So that's what threw me off, because Burgundy is usually like not this much acidity. Because like, in a sense, if the fruit quality wasn't there, and it's very hot year, which 22 was,
Could have been too mellow, maybe.
and I also detected ever slightly of sweetness,
Yeah.
like a gram
Yeah,
and a half.
sure.
Just a hair.
I agree.
I think they did it to make that acidity a little less. Because so when you ferment, right? When you ferment 100% of the sugar within the grape,
Okay.
and so simple wine chemistry, right? When you ferment the grapes,
Okay.
sugar becomes alcohol. That's how you.
Exciting.
Yes. So when you do 100% fermentation,
Yes.
full fermentation, all the sugar within the grape becomes alcohol. That's why Napa Valley or any region that's relatively hot
Yes.
has a higher alcohol.
Yes.
Because you're burning all the sugar,
Yes.
and that becomes alcohol.
Yeah.
So this, to me, what I'm noticing is 13%. 22 was a very hot year. So this could have been 13.5
Okay.
wine, but they left a little bit of that sugar, because sugar will fool your mouth, your palate, for your acidity to.
Oh, to kinda bring it
to
down.
balance it. To balance.
Sure,
That's
I
the
get
word
it.
I was looking
Okay.
for. To balance it.
All right.
So I think that's what I was tasting. That's why I said it tasted like New World. The winemaking is a New World.
Yeah.
Because New World tends to do that for Chardonnays. They leave that little bit of sugar, so it's nice and sweet on your palate, and they keep the alcohol somewhat
I will
in
say
control,
it
and
is
they keep
lovely.
the alcohol.
It is
No,
really
it's good
lovely.
wine, no doubt. But alcohol is definitely a little throwing. But fruit's there.
The fruit is so there.
Yeah.
It's
And
really,
then
like
I'm
I said,
very-
it's crisp.
And then if they put a new oak on this, I would have bashed it.
For sure. I wouldn't have
would've-
liked that either. I wouldn't have liked it.
If they put new oak on this, I would have like, what the hell did you just give me?
Yeah,
And like,
for sure. No, I
But-
totally understand.
but I think the winemaker did what he had to do, because it was such a hot year.
Yeah.
So he had to make a. So that's the thing. Winemaker has to make a
Make
choice.
do with what you've, right,
That's
for sure.
There's no such wine that will taste same one year after another.
Right, because climate.
I mean, there are,
Right.
but they're heavily manipulated, as we all know.
Right.
They start with BNY.
Well, I mean, he's talking about that, and honestly, I'm doing a little book called Beat Last Year, because we're new at the chapel, and Beat Last Year is basically, you know, what you're up from last year, that sort of thing. But I'm putting together our Beat Last Year book so that we have goals, that sort of thing. I love goals.
But I wonder. Sorry.
Anyway, what I was going to say was that I'm also putting the temperature, because it gets so hot here
Of the
that
wine?
there's, meaning the,
Oh, just in general.
in general
Oh,
in
okay,
Las
okay.
Vegas, that sometimes people aren't out and about during the day or the morning because it's so warm. But then in the
Yeah.
evening, they start really kind of coming in, and that's when they're getting married, and you see a little bit more business happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last week, it was really interesting to look at the variation from last year's temperature to this year's
It's
temperature.
much cooler this year.
Actually,
Are we?
it was the opposite.
We're hotter this year.
Yeah, it was the opposite.
why do
it
we
was
feel
like,
cooler?
seriously, it wasn't just like a few degrees. It was more than normal, and I was like, wow, that's interesting.
This year?
To have thought that. Yeah. But just
okay.
in the several weeks that I'm looking
Okay.
at.
And then
But that would make sense with the wine as well.
I'm getting that least contact. So least contact is, as the wine ferments, there's like a layer of white foam that sets.
Okay.
It's basically bacteria.
Oh, that's like when you make nopales.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Hispanic.
And then
Yeah.
and
Same.
it's one of the winemaking technique where you stir it, and then it gives that wine that creamy texture,
Okay.
gives that buttery character, but not too heavy.
Buttery.
So there's two ways of getting that buttery characteristics that
Not a real big fan of the buttery.
a lot of people love it. We all know which Chardonnay that is. Starts with R. But So one way of getting the butter character is a malolactic. It converts the acid into malolactic, so it basically eats up the protein, but it also reduces acidity.
So super elastic, melolactic, for those of you that are around my age, you know what I'm talking about. That was bubble plastic.
But they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I think the least contact
It's
alone
nice.
was great. It's pretty well balanced. I think for this price tag,
I'd love this with a
it's
little
phenomenal.
salmon.
You know what I would love
I
on
would
this?
love this with, go ahead.
I think I would love this
Chicken
on
salad.
like, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it'd be so good with chicken
like
salad.
Caesar, even Caesar.
Caesar salad, chicken salad.
Speaking of Caesar, a couple weeks ago we went to Golden Steer.
Oh, tell
speaking
us,
of,
one of my
holy
favorite
cow.
restaurants. Elvis used to dine there.
Obviously, it's probably one of the most steakhouse / restaurant in Las Vegas.
The most, it's popular.
Because it's not only because it's been around for a while, but also celebrities.
It was mob owned.
Yeah,
Don't know if it still is.
Elvis, you know,
booths are
many,
named.
Yeah, each booth are named, and there's like a
Rat Pack used to go there.
photo of whoever was there,
Sure.
like Elvis, Mayer, or all kinds of different kind of celebrity
Their names are
singers,
written in
whatever.
gold.
Yeah, and then we were right there, and then, holy cow, we had their lobster. I kid you not.
I've never had a bad lobster tail there.
I never had. I never even seen lobster tail.
Well,
I'm not talking
told
about.
me. Wait till you hear this.
Yeah, it's a lobster tail. I'm thinking, like the typical 8-ounce, 12-ounce.
Lobster on steroids.
Oh my God. The server comes in as they told us, hey, actually, we normally get 12 to 16-ounce lobster tails on their shipment. I guess there was some mistake. They got 16 to 18.
My kind of mistake.
And then I'm not complaining. I loved it, every bite of it. It was like size of my arm.
Amazing.
I kid you not. It's like this big. And
we were not there.
And then,
Wish.
as it comes out, all three of us got it. Everybody's rubber.
Thanks for the non-invite. Go ahead, keep going.
Everybody's rubbernecking.
Of course.
Because they're seeing freaking lobster this big.
Wow, amazing.
I thought, I was like, is this real? I'm like, yeah, it's real.
So good.
So, in the plating, right? It comes in the tail and then there's a thing.
Sure,
so
right.
I thought it was an illusion, right? Yeah, tail must be big so the meat looks bigger, right?
Right.
Because I know a lot of restaurant does that as a trick. I'm like, yeah, you can take the thing off because if you ask for it, they'll take the tail off. Nope, it wasn't an illusion. It was an actual
Jumbo
freaking
lobster tail.
Our lobster was bigger than the freaking ribeye. And then I'm like,
wait. Then there was something more.
there's something more.
Luckily, they got there when they got there.
I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad we did the.
People start scurrying around from the story I remember hearing.
Yeah. And I'm glad we did the earlier
Yes.
time dining. I think
Yes.
we went there at 6 o'clock.
Right.
So towards the end, it was like 8:30. Still pretty busy, right? That's still what do you call it? Peak time of the restaurants.
Sure.
Yeah, between 6 to 9, almost 10.
I'm so hungry right now.
We
but
were
go
getting
ahead.
our dessert. It's the banana. You know the menu more than I do.
Bananas Foster,
Yeah,
and they
it's
flambe
great.
before you right at the table.
Yeah, it's great. It's
Or
amazing.
cherries Jubilee,
Yeah.
both are fabulous.
So we were having that, and then mid-making, because they bring the cart and they make you in front of you, right? And then suddenly one of the waiter comes in. They take out the fire extinguisher that's attached to the cart.
Because they just flambe.
Yeah. And then they rush out to towards the kitchen. I'm like, what the hell's going on, right?
What the HE double toothpicks he said.
And then 3 minutes, maybe, if not less.
Yes.
At least half a dozen firemen comes in.
Yeah.
And then they rush to the kitchen. I'm like, holy cow, they have a fire. And then my wife, she had some, well, not her, my father-in-law, her dad, right?
Right.
He's been in culinary industry since basically beginning of his forever, since high school, basically.
Yeah.
And then because of that, she knows a lot about the restaurant, how they operate and all that stuff. And she's like, they probably had a grease fire. And then 10 minutes later, they come out, they're like, yeah, they had a grease fire.
Fire in the hole!
But apparently, due to some fire code,
Yeah,
if you do have a fire, grease fire, you shut them down. The fire department shuts them down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. So and then
Because it's just going to continue, right?
yeah.
Shall I
I
pour
don't.
more, or would you like to
absolutely.
pour me
Yeah.
more?
Just I'll
Go
pour you
ahead.
more.
Oh, thank you.
So
So
now the
kind.
blind tasting is
Such a
done.
gentleman. Oh, thank you very much.
So they had to shut them down, and then I kind of felt bad for the table next to us.
Well, 'cause they had
Because I
an
can
order.
overhear them, and we were getting a little nosy too. I mean, who doesn't? They're talking to the server. They're obviously clearly upset, but he knows there's nothing they can do. They came here all the way from, what was it?
You okay?
Imagine.
Imagine.
Missouri.
Oh.
It was their anniversary.
Oh.
And then they had to make, obviously they had a reservation and all that whatnot.
There's no way of making that
And then
up.
it's one of those later, like 8 o'clock seating
Right,
too.
because how do you make that up in a restaurant? I don't
how
think
can you make that
right?
up, right? I'm pretty sure, I hope, I don't know. I hope they give them some kind of voucher or next meal, whatever.
Yeah.
Like at least one meal on them or something. I hope something like that happened. But
Yeah.
but the guy is like, yeah, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I get it, but it sucks.
Yeah.
And then if I was in that, I don't even want to think about if I was in their position, right? Like
Yeah.
imagine you come, not just locals, but fly out just for this. Because I know a lot of couples
that's
do
rough.
that.
That's rough.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh man. But at the same time, like, holy cow, we just witnessed a grease fire at one of the most reputable restaurants.
Yeah, it's very reputable.
But
no
to me,
kidding.
that shows me the human factor, right?
Sure.
I think, but to me, but what we see,
What?
what Jenna and I see is how they problem solve, right? Because
Okay.
you can have a grease fire.
Well, tell me what they did. Did they do something?
No, like in many ways, the best way of doing is obviously not getting that involved to the restaurant, to the seating, to the guest, right? You want to contain that as much as you can internally.
Of course, right.
Because you don't want to scare off people.
We're talking customer service, my favorite
exactly.
thing. Yes.
And then, yeah, I think they did an amazing job on that.
Okay.
Yeah, they keep it pretty down low.
So you really don't know what they might have done for the customers to try to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right, but I'm
yeah,
sure
I think,
they did.
But I felt like they did really well. I mean, accident happens, shit happens.
Stuff happens?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
You were quite foul today. His mouth today? I'm thinking his wife might need to get a bar of soap. I don't know. I heard H-E double toothpicks. He did contain himself with friggin' earlier. And now look where he is at.
See what wine
My
does to
goodness.
me?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. So let me give you my little story.
Yeah, go ahead. It's your
Oh my
turn.
gosh.
Yeah, I've been talking for a
I
while.
wrote myself some notes and it just says prison. It says limo.
prison.
Let me take you into the story. So early in my career, as
long
you
ago was
know,
that? Was that
I
boring?
was a chauffeur, and boy, did I love it.
Driving around, really?
Yeah, I loved it so much. I loved picking people up and then giving them a little lay of the land as I'm driving down the street and telling them about everything. And you're just passing this and you're just passing that. And I loved all that.
Well, also back then it wasn't as bad of a traffic like it is now, huh?
I know it was the same.
Oh, really?
Oh, sure. It was absolutely the same.
No way. Well,
Yeah.
Strip was much smaller, right?
No, we're not talking that far back.
Oh, we're
only
not?
lived here-
Oh, oops, my
I've only
bad.
lived here 25 years.
I'm thinking like when the Strip was only like 3 lanes.
Anywho.
Anyway.
Let me get to that. So anyway, we have this ceremony. I am the driver. Ceremony goes, I go to pick up the couple, and they're doing what's called a first look, which I think I explained last week. Basically,
Yeah.
a first look is the couple does not see each other before the ceremony, and this was just a traditional husband and wife, basically. So the gentleman drove up front, sat up front with me, and the bride was in the back with family and whatnot. So as we're driving, I'm getting to know the groom, and I've got the partition up because we don't want him to see the bride or the bride to see him.
Hang on.
So in the partition in the limousine.
But that's between driver
It's
and
closed.
the customer, no?
Correct, but he's in the front seat with me.
Oh, and the bride's
I
in the
just
back.
said that. Yes.
Well, I'm not.
Let's do Hello.
I'm enjoying this wine
What was
too
the
much.
percentage again?
13.
Okay. Well, anyhow.
I think it's time for that burrito you got me earlier.
I think my liver's a little better than that. But anyway, so so he's in the front with me, and he's telling me that the reason why they had to postpone the wedding twice was because he hadn't gone out of prison. He was still in prison, and they couldn't get married. But her family really doesn't know that he's been in prison and that sort of thing. So they just kept postponing the wedding. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing. I'm just giving you the story. So anywho, so they go ahead, and he's up front, and he's telling me all this stuff. Ceremony goes off without a hitch. Everything's great. I'm now heading back with everyone. He's now in the back seat with the bride. And usually I save the back seat for the bride and the groom. Everyone else goes in first, so the bride and groom don't have to scooch in because she's in this lovely gown, and they get preference to sit in that back seat. So at some point, my phone rings, and it is another minister. It's a minister, and he calls. I wasn't a minister then. He calls and he says, "Di." I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "We got a little bit of a problem." I said, "What's a problem?" He says, "The groom from that wedding just took my cell phone." I go, "What?"
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
By accident?
he was using his cell phone to use it for we had like this, what do you call it? A box, a boom box, basically. And he would attach his
music?
phone for the music,
Oh,
and he would
okay.
attach it to the player.
How long ago was this?
I don't know, 11 years, maybe?
Okay, so there is still a phone.
Yeah.
Then, okay.
So
I'm trying to
it's
figure
plugged-
out, was
the
it
phone's
before
plugged in.
iPhone days or after?
Oh, before iPhone. So he's plugged into this, or maybe it was brand new iPhone. I don't know. Anyway, he's plugged into this system, and they had cameras, so they watched him, I guess, and they told me, you're going to have to tell him that we know he's got the phone and we need the phone back. I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So I go ahead, and as I'm driving, I lower the partition, and I said, "Hi, I just received a phone call from the chapel, and there may have been some kind of a misunderstanding, and someone may have thought that their phone was the minister's phone. Is there anyone in the back who might have the minister's phone?" Now, if you remember the beginning of the story, no one knew that he had been just recently in jail,
Released,
right?
yep.
Yeah. Released, that's a nice word. And so no one fesses up, meaning him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So I then pull over. I look back behind the partition. And at this point, because he's not fessing up and I'm giving them every opportunity, I'm saying
clean.
it twice. Please just come clean, send the phone up,
just plead
it was a
guilty and
mistake.
let's move
pretend
on.
it was a mistake. And he does not fess up. And so I have to say to the groom, "Sir, apparently they have you on camera and they saw you take the phone." I guess he took the phone, he looked around, and then he stuck it in his back pocket. Very obvious.
Yowzers.
So I then had to say to him, "Could you please just take that cell phone, hand it to person next to you," which is the bride, and then her father, then her mother, and then the aunts, and then the other.
Or is it like a domino?
He had to send the phone all the way up, and everyone else had to touch that phone
And they
with
all
that
look at it and-
uncomfortable feeling
they
to get it
they
to me.
gaze
But I
at
got
you.
the phone back. So the minister was so happy that I got his phone back.
I mean, back then, phones were expensive.
It was very expensive. And
Back
I
then,
remember it
yeah.
being, he had like the fancy with all the bells and whistles, and he was stressed out.
I remember those days.
But we did get that phone
But
back.
isn't it amazing how
and-
technology grows?
Yeah, you're talking about technology,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about the craziness
know.
of the fact that someone actually
I'm
really
talking on my
literally
own
took
stuff.
that phone and took it, put it in his back pocket and took
It's
it.
because you didn't recognize my black socks.
Oh, he's wearing black socks today.
Because you commented
Closer
last
to
week.
following the
Yeah.
hemlines, what you're supposed to do, black or navy.
Because last week you said
Perfect.
I'm wearing my white
He
socks.
looked like
I'm
he'd been
wearing-
playing tennis. Yeah, because he does play tennis.
That's why I have a bad knee.
Yeah, his knees are like 56 years old, and he's in his 30s. So,
But you know
anyhow,
what my doctor said?
What did your doctor say?
He said, despite the injury, I still have to keep using it.
Well, I would hope so, because you need to walk.
Exactly. To
Hello.
basically not get worse. It's not about, at this point, he's like, it's not about making it worse. It's
But
about not
let
getting
me
it.
just go into true confessions and tell you all. I've given him a copper fit thing. I have something in my car he doesn't even know about that helps for his knee. I'm telling him to use castor oil. He does nada. He takes a leave. Or no, wait, you take the other one.
Naproxen.
No, the other one.
Advil.
He takes Advil.
Well, on my defense, I take the one thing that your husband gave me, the collagen.
Oh, you are taking the collagen?
Hell yeah.
Oh my goodness! It's guy to guy. You see how that works? If I gave it to him, it's not going to be used. I'm just saying that maybe I should have my husband hand him this thing for his handy dandy knees to try to help his knees. Mama feels bad. I'm like the chapel mom. I feel bad. At any rate, but yeah, that was my story. So, do you have anything else?
What do we got?
I think we're going to try it next week. And
a guest,
we were
yeah.
going to have my friend this week, but she couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ray. She owns a little floral shop.
Oh,
and
we gotta
she's
talk
wonderful.
about Michaela.
Oh, goodness. I almost
As a
forgot. I'm so
finale.
sorry.
Yeah, as a
okay,
finale.
so about a week and a half ago, someone's across the street here. They've
like-
got some big light.
Yeah.
And I say to June, hey, June, what
doing
do you
some
think
kind-
they're doing?
And then
He
I
goes,
noticed it right away. That's
"You
an
said
actual
they're probably
real content
doing
creation. Yeah, content
creating. Ask them if they want to come over. So as I'm saying goodbye to our couple from Scotland, we love our friends in
Very
Scotland.
heavy
We love our
accent.
friends in Ireland. I go ahead and I say, hey, if y'all wanted to get some photos or you need something, come on over. Because it looked like maybe they were closed across the street. They're looking at me like I'm a little cuckoo, which that's normal for me. They go ahead and they start walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, they took my cuckoo seriously.
Yeah.
So here they come. They come in, bride and bride dressed fabulously, looking fabulous,
they
like
look
really
amazing.
great, really great.
They
And
look
they've got
amazing.
a whole team. They've got a videographer, a couple photographers.
To me,
they got a team.
So it was one main videographer.
Okay,
I think his name was Zach.
don't say too much. Okay.
Well,
kidding.
it's past the
Yeah, go ahead, go
date.
ahead, go ahead.
And then there's another like a secondary shoot for. I think that was like her people.
Right, her
who does,
people.
Who does their social
Her
media?
people.
And there's
Yes.
another lady. I think that was like their social media manager.
Yes.
I'm assuming. I don't know their titles, but that's kind of what it looked like.
Yes.
But it was a really well coordinated team. And then I was like, these people don't joke around.
So long story longer, they come in, we do this total, hey, look at our Wall of Fame, look at our jukebox. They love the
They
jukebox.
love the jukebox.
And then they start interviewing June, and June looks so uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because she told me to hold her.
No, that was before the holding of the hair. I'm just saying, he looked so uncomfortable. She's holding the little mic up for him, and he's talking.
I was like,
I'm
yeah.
giggling like I'm dying.
I did
I'm
not
like,
had wine.
This is hilarious. It's so fabulous. But anyway, she goes ahead and she's interviewing him. She's interviewing me a little bit. We're chitty-chatty. And then she says, okay, well, let me just fess up and tell you what's up. We said, okay, go ahead. She says, well, I am filming
Music video.
a music video.
That was awesome.
And we're getting some B-roll. We love your jukebox. We love your chapel. They were like in love with the chapel.
Yeah.
We were in love with them. They were in love with us. We were having like kissy all over. And then they said, well, we're going to use some of these things. And then we don't even know who this beautiful bride is or her partner yet. And then we find out that here in Las Vegas,
Michaela,
there is a morning show with
KLUC.
Cluck
98.5.
98.5.
Every morning.
Every morning, their morning show.
Chet Buchanan.
Chet Buchanan
I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his. I'm so freaking sorry.
and Michaela Gordon.
Because my wife loves that morning radio.
Yes, she does.
Every morning.
And they have
that's her
this
co-host.
amazing
Yeah.
annual drive for kids at Christmas with
Oh my
bikes
God.
and things.
It's
They
trailer full.
are
We
like
love
a
them. Yeah.
godsend.
Yeah,
They're
oh,
so wonderful.
They're wonderful people.
We can't even believe how wonderful they are before us. We
Yeah.
don't even know who they were until that moment.
Yep.
And they're going to be using some of our chapel in their video.
That's
And
amazing.
if you don't know who she is, you may have watched American Idol with the Carrie Underwood. I said world.
Wood.
Hey, have another glass of wine.
Underworld.
Underwood. That was the one where Carrie won. She came in 11th place. Now that is my lucky number because I
Really?
have those. I have those. They're called angel numbers. 1111, 111. Those are my numbers. And she came in 11th place, and she is a vocal. She has beautiful voice. So she's going to have. She's going to be cutting that music album.
27th.
I sound so old when
comes
I
out
say
on
album.
tw-
Yeah,
So
on the 27th.
by the time this video's
by
out,
the time
it's
this video's
past video.
on, you'll be able to listen to
Yeah.
it. Go back, take a listen.
I still can't believe she
and
made her.
support.
She made me hold her hair.
That was really the funniest part. She's like, "Hey, can you hold my hair?" He's holding her hair.
I'm like, what? What am I supposed to do with
And he's just holding it the whole time while she's talking. We're doing all this stuff. And he goes, am I supposed to let go yet? And then he finally let go of her hair. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that was-
June was so uncomfortable.
Of course.
But if you
'cause I'm
are
holding somebody else's
on the
hair.
27th, I don't know if you're able to go back in radio time. But anyway, she's going to talk about the Say I Do Chapel because they did kind of go to a couple of other places. And
Yeah, they went to one of our
let's just,
competitors.
yeah, and they just,
then
oh.
they kicked them out.
Yeah, so
I'm
they were just thrilled over our kindness, and we just made new friends. So let's just say
we
that.
love every moment with them. That's great.
Cheers
Yeah.
to new friends, to wine, love, and
Chapel.
weddings.
Chapel.
Thank you for being with us this week, and
We'll
we
catch
hope
you
to
later
see you
next
again
week.
next week. Cheers.